That old guy coming in, but I guess Trisha cut him up in the chat.
What up? What up? What up? We live. We live. C talk. Let's some people get in the room. I don't know where um Tank Top Bob is right now. I don't know where he's at right now. But we just gonna
That's
have to get
good.
this popping without Tank Top Bob today. But and maybe he'll join us a little bit later. But I wanted to let's go ahead and put our mics on mute if we ain't talking because that feedback is cold. But let's get some people in the room real quick. I wanted to talk about this whole thing of dress code because that was a situation that I was talking about on my page. And it's always an interesting conversation when it comes up. You know, me being an educator and working in schools, because I see it both ways. I see it that how, dress codes and whatnot can be good to prepare, our young people, what I'm saying, for, post-secondary success if they're applying for jobs. It kind of teaches them certain things and how to be competitive and whatnot. And there's always that joke, like the Pacific Northwest dress code is, like Dockers and like tennis shoes and like a polo, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, if you from the South or you from the Midwest, from a black community, people start to, actually make fun of people in the Pacific Northwest. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know, like Seattleites don't know how to dress, and I guess there's this whole, tech industry uniform now, where it's like, a certain dress code, like with like athletic shoes and like a flannel or something like that and some Dockers and whatnot. Um, but I also see it, I mean, I see it a couple different ways, but I also see it how it can be used to oppress a group of people too. And I saw this with, especially, of course, with young ladies, what I'm saying, policing their gear, you're showing too much skin, this is that and the third, and you need to cover that up, when sometimes it don't even matter what they have on, you know what I'm saying? That's just their body and and how, what I'm saying, they were born. But I also see it used to oppress young men too, with, the sagging pants, wearing of certain hats, of course, bandanas, do rags definitely comes up, and with the ladies' bonnets. But men wear bonnets too. So I've seen a few men, in the school who are trying to maintain their curls and keep the oil within, wearing bonnets in the school and whatnot. So I see it like that too. I can see it how it oppresses people, but I also see it as, uniforms are worn in our sports programs. They're worn with, our cheerleaders. They're worn in our other programs like Drumline, like ROTC. Um, you know, Even our security wear uniforms. They have to wear those shirts, so it identifies people. You know what I'm saying, and tells you what kind of job they do when they're on site. So, but I wanted to get the views on, does wearing uniforms help to build community? How does it help build community, but how is it also used um to oppress, some groups of people? And I know there's going to be some good examples brought up, but what was the first thing that you thought of when you thought of this, Precious?
Well, let me just say this. We had this conversation a while ago, but I've always said I don't have a particularly have an issue with dress code in itself. I really don't have an issue with it because it does help with identifying who is which. It does promote unity. It does build a connection or like a fellow brother or sister that you can rely on because you know that person lives or works by the same level of standards that come with wearing that particular uniform. However, I think the downside to that is that, let's just say, for instance, if it represents something that is against the norm, it can make them a target.
Mm.
Like for instance, like back in the day, Black Panthers all had a uniform wearing all black.
And
However,
and the berets and stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that kind of made them a target. They say, well, you see somebody wearing this particular uniform or this particular attire, that's what that's who we need to take down. So yeah, that is where it could be oppressive in terms of wearing uniform in that nature.
Hmm.
But dress code in itself, I don't personally see an issue with it. I do see it. I can be oppressive, and I got a story for you.
Okay.
There's this particular. I'm about to put this restaurant on blast. I haven't been to this one, but I'm going to put it on blast. There is a restaurant here in Austin at the Domain called Dogwood,
Okay.
and in a group that I am, I mean, these black men went with their dates or whatever to this restaurant. They did not let them in due to their attire violated their dress code. And apparently their dress code was no sneakers. And of course, these men had Jordans on. And
Mm.
they told them these shoes aren't, you wearing this particular pair of shoes is not allowed. However, he was saying that there was some, I'm going to say some white people in there who were wearing like Skechers like looking shoes or Skechers or Converse looking shoe. And he
Hmm.
was like, they was like, well, this person wears sneakers, they in here. He said, oh, well, we could tolerate those. That's basically what they said.
Did this
But
happen like a few months ago, like at the beginning of the pandemic? Like, I think
good.
I
I
seen
think
this. I think I seen someone recorded this. Maybe it might be the same one. It might be some
it
different.
may have been. I'm not sure if there was a video out, but yeah, it was. I'm not. Was it this year or was it?
Like a
I think it
year
was
ago or
last year.
something? Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes, yes, it could be used to discriminate or to oppress. Absolutely. But when it comes to stuff like work environment, mm, it just depends on the business. And even again, unfortunately, some restaurants like that one I just mentioned. And
Mhm.
I think that same restaurant was that restaurant? No, I think it was another restaurant. It was on Rainy Street downtown Austin off of Sixth Street. I forgot what kind of pair of shoes it is, but that particular shoe looked like combat boots. And the white people in that restaurant thought they were working boots or boots that you work in. But his friend had to tell him, look here, sir, these shoes cost too much for anybody to be working in construction in.
Right.
I forgot what the brand is. I probably need to go back to that post. But yeah, so yeah, absolutely. It could
I
be
wanna.
definitely. Go
Yeah.
ahead, though.
Yeah. I got. I got some feedback on that. Yeah. But I wanted Trish to to tune in first because I definitely have my views on that. But go ahead.
When I first thought about this, and I always clarify this self as someone who wore uniforms from first grade until 12th grade, I'm probably the most anti-uniform person on the planet. I think that human beings like to categorize, and even if you have on uniforms, um, children in particular come up with ingenious ways to still figure out who has money, who yeah, all kinds of things that when I was younger, I was told that, well, uniforms help because it's an equalizer in schools. It also helps to identify you in the community if you do something wrong, that they know that uniform, that's a kid from that school. So call that school to say, hey, this kid is causing problems. But I've noticed also as a woman or a female child that we were probably more policed in terms of not adhering to a dress code. So we did the whole kneeling down and the skirt had to touch the ground. And of course, you couldn't have buttons open and all those kinds of things. But literally, the only time that I ever got in trouble in school was at PE class. It's either sixth or seventh grade. And if he's watching now, you know, this young man, he was out of dress code for PE, and it was during at the beginning when we were doing our prayers, and he walked and he was clearly out of dress code and making fun about it. I laughed and I got in trouble because he was not in dress code. I was the one that got in trouble because as a young lady, I should have controlled my behavior, despite the fact he was not in dress code. So I was the one that got the punishment and had to do the prayers and all this, which,
Yeah, that don't sound like a
yeah,
dress code
because
issue
as
though.
a
That
girl,
that's
I
not a
need to
dress code
control
issue.
myself versus the whole idea of, like, particularly with girls, when, especially when we're like in high school and things that we can have, but so many buttons, all these things that are uniform controls, but boys would not be held responsible for their reaction. So why was it that we had to control our reaction, but that's teaching long term. But I think that it's used too often to replicate systems of like classism, misogyny, even in terms of like the shoes. Like people would use that in order to as a demarcation of who was from a different class. I think in a vacuum, when people just look at uniforms, they think that that will solve all the problems in terms of identification and building community. But if you don't address all the other issues, it's it's just going to support the same system. So if you don't address classism, if you don't address racism and everything else, the uniforms really don't matter.
Yeah, yeah, good point. I went to a private school. I went to O'Day, and that's why it would have been good to have Bobby on here because we both went to O'Day at different times. I think I'm about a good, 10, 15 years his senior. But when we went to O'Day, you could, we had brother Ryan there, no blue jeans. And if you wore blue jeans, he was from Chicago, he had that accent, then you would get sent to after school detention and whatnot. I did like uniforms though, because we had a sister school, which was Holy Names. And though I didn't like it when we got the violation, it definitely prepared me to dress for success. It prepared me to be a part of a group of young men, and a fraternity of men, like you said, Trish. Like they knew when we was coming. Like there were those O'Day guys. You know what I'm saying? The O'Day boys, and it was a form of it was a form of camaraderie. It was a form of community. It was a form of pride. Did people still get on your uniforms even though y'all had like, the similar things on or a certain dress code? Absolutely. But I used it to my advantage. People used to make fun of my, quote unquote penny loafers. So I stopped putting pennies in them. I put dimes in them. And I was able to take everything and flip it back on another person, you know, just turn the energy against them like a keto. But not everyone's able to do that. I mean, that's the bottom line. Not everyone is as resilient as me, and I can flip things. And so, like, that was just a position of privilege for me that I just, I was nice while I'm out. I was a smart aleck. Um, I think that both can be accomplished though. As think instead of saying that we shouldn't have dress codes and whatnot because kids get made fun of or they make comments. I think that we should go after the kids and make it a part of our pedagogy and a part of our curriculum where we're actually teaching kids not to bully each other. Like, no matter what you have on, you know what I'm saying? Whether you have a dress code, uniforms, or everyone gets to, go for what they know when they go shopping, whether it's the thrift shop or Macy's, you're still going to have bullies. I mean, you wear Jordans and someone's going to be like, oh, no, they're fake. Or, oh, those aren't real Jordans. Those are Jumpmans. Those are Team Jordans. Like, people are always going to have creative ways to make fun of someone who is their target. And that's the bottom line. Um, but another thing that I touched on, like the power in uniforms is like for instance, like the griot party experience. Like I want everybody who's a part of the griot party experience to wear a uniform. And it's not like I'm enforcing it. It's not like I'm gonna punish people who don't do it, but it looks fly when everyone's walking, in a group and they all have the griot party shirts with the symbols, you know what I'm saying? Whether it says militant intellectual like this one, or it says, you know, um, whether it just says griot party, whether it says feel, heal, build, and grow. I think that builds a camaraderie just like a sports team, just like drumline, just like um, anything. You know what I'm saying? So like ROTC, like, people who are in the army or whatever. Saying it's like it builds that camaraderie um and whatnot. So I, some people say, you know, why should there be, dress codes? And another reason is it's a safety issue. Some environments demand to have dress codes because of safety. They'd be like, oh, come on, man. Like, how is that? I'm like, a lot of black people don't understand the safety issues until we bring stuff, saying that's, you know, relevant reference points, for us. Like when we start talking about MAGA hats, someone starts walking up into a building and a whole bunch of MAGA hats on it, and that's a safety concern. Because sooner or later, probably someone's going to take off on them. Someone's going to sock them in their jaw, or someone came into the building with a trench coat after what happened in, Columbine. Like, these are all things like that can be done to conceal things and stuff like that. So I think we have different reference points when it comes to dress codes. Like sometimes I think we pick and choose when dress codes are cool and when they're not. What y'all think? I wanted to go to this comment. Go ahead, Trisha. Go ahead. Then we
Okay.
gonna put some
Um, I think, though, particularly Black and Brown people, we overcompensate with this idea of uniform. This is the uniform, and no amount of buying different clothing or having, membership in different organizations, it's not really going to override the permanent uniform we wear. So that's what also kind of makes it difficult for me to look at uniforms as a solution. Um,
Nah, not a
because yeah,
solution. Not a solution. No, never have.
yeah.
Not never.
But
That's not a
also
solution.
when you were, because you said you went to, like, my uniform experiences. So I went to two different high schools. One of the first, like, longer term high school I went to was a private school called Mayfield, where I was the only Black student at school. And regardless of the dress code, the uniform hit me differently than it hit the other girls in school. So, for example, yeah, my rear was a little bigger, so the skirt, no matter what, my skirt was jacked up in the back, no matter what. Even with my mother, like, and parents buying me a longer one, so they would get a longer one, then I'd have to roll it up more in front than in the back. And then invariably, sometime during the day, it was going to mess up. Then I'd constantly get Miss Diamond, there's something wrong with you. And then I would be told that, but that's also, the school didn't ever address the fact that, hey, we have a student that it looks different than the other kids, that's maybe built differently. So the expectation, they could have modified the uniform somehow to accommodate a different body style. It's always built with one certain type of person. So if you're not addressing the other things, and I also think for girls, and I'll say people that identify based on your gender identity, that it would be more difficult in terms of uniforms, because if you want to dress like your gender identity and it may not align with yeah, your cisgender, as well as the fact that I'll say the school that I graduated from, that all girls school, we kind of had a reputation in college that we could not dress, and they used to say we did not know how to dress in the real world because we had over relied on the fact that we had a uniform to throw on every day. So then suddenly in college you get to make choices, and you're like, wow, I get. And when you're let loose in the wild, that you can make choices. I even know that some of mine were probably very questionable and inappropriate to run around in, yeah, with my bare midriff and a pair of shorts going to a calculus class, and then wondering, why is everyone looking at me? Because it's like, wow, I can wear these unique things. So we don't really set people up for success for the moment when they do get to have choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to co-sign on that because I wore uniforms for 3 years in junior high. And I find it so funny that you talk about the colors across the school. See, that's what I kind of clown the school district for, because all the schools in our school district literally use almost the exact same colors. So you really wouldn't know which student went to which school because we all use the same colors: navy, white, green, maroon, black. They were all the same colors. So I've always found it interesting that they use it to identify students, but we all wearing the same color. So that was one thing I found kind of funny. And yes, I feel many of the uniforms were very one size fit all. And if you are a shapely girl, that shorts is not going to fit. And I got in trouble for shorts because of my shape, and they went. 4 2 an inch above the knee where it's supposed to bend. I think it can't go no further than 3 inches. And I had got in trouble for that. I'm like, but this is the shorts that I purchased from Kmart. That's back when Kmart was still in style back in that time because that was one of the very few places that sold it. So yes, I do find it when it came to girls, especially girls, black girls especially. I think we do get more ridicule when it comes to dress code, especially when it came to uniforms. So yeah, I never liked the uniforms either. And when we
Yeah.
finally got to high school, it took me almost 3 years to find my fashion sense because I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what could have fit me or really. It took me a very long time to find my own fashion sense. So do I think it sets us up for success? The only way I can see it can set us up for success is if we know how to follow the guidelines of what dress code is appropriate for that job. I think that's really it. I don't know
Yeah.
in terms of dressing for it. I don't know. I don't know about that part.
I mean, that's literally what it is, though. It,
Mhm.
it's another way of teaching young black students, young people, how to navigate the world by using code switching.
Mhm.
So it's literally is a code switch. Dress code is a code switch, and that's something that black people need to learn. But I think that we're talking about two different situations
Mhm.
here and two different categories. Category number one, and talking about predominantly in this conversation, first and foremost, is how it's utilized in school systems that we don't own and we
Mhm.
don't manage. And then the next conversation that we should have is how does it operate in our communities where we have some kind of autonomy. But I do want to get back to the school thing. So if we're saying no dress code, no uniforms, how do y'all feel about young men walking around and then people who, just like that that style, but it's predominantly young men, young black men who walk around with their pants sagging.
Yeah.
Some
Huh.
kind of, well, I haven't been to school in a while, but they kind of still did it even when we was in school. That was part of the dress code. They couldn't stag, but
Right.
some
What I'm
still
saying is like
did it.
it's one of those things, if we're really honest, we'd be like, okay, don't really like uniforms, don't really like dress
Mhm.
code, wear what you need to wear. I don't want young ladies to be harassed, you know what I'm saying, or body shamed
Mhm.
because they don't fit into their clothes how you think they should fit into them, blah, blah, blah. And then you see this dude walking around with the pants sagging, be like, yeah, I know I said that, but could you pull your pants up?
Yeah, I've always said dress code was necessary, but yeah, I do get that. Yeah, I've always said dress code was necessary. Yes, it does pertain a safety issue. Like for my federal building, they don't recommend you wearing slides to work or anything you slide your feet in case
Exactly.
there's a terrorist or an intruder. They want to be able to get out.
Active shooter, yeah, you're not
Yeah,
really getting around too fast with your pants sagging and some flip
yeah,
flops.
stuff
That's
like
what I
that.
was
Stuff
talking about
like
the
that.
safety thing.
I definitely agree with to avoid those
Mhm.
type of shoes. So yeah, stuff like that. Yes, but in terms of morals or whatever,
Mhm.
I don't know about that. But
Right,
for safety purposes, yes, I do agree with the dress code for that.
right.
I
Yeah,
agree with
Carmelita said that black
explaining
boys use sagging as a tool to fight against oppression too. It's a form of
that.
protest. It's born out of feeling powerless, and I see that too. And I think that's the same
Mhm.
reason why black women, you know what I'm saying, and oppressed people, period, wear the clothing that they wear. Even if we want to step outside of the black community, well, I guess we don't have to step outside of the black community because there is a punk rocker black community, a black punk rocker community, but they have a certain like uniform also. Feel me? With the black painted nails, they call it the quote unquote goth look, maybe the dog collars, spiked dog collars around their neck, wearing a little bit of makeup underneath their eyes, black makeup. We know what the punk rocker slash goth
Mhm.
looks. And if you study
Mhm.
it, there's one theory that comes out of that dress code and that uniform is that they were trying to make they felt powerless, number one. They felt like they weren't accepted, and they wanted to accentuate that because they were usually on the street and they were homeless people. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to accentuate their quote unquote unattractiveness so they would be less of a victim, you know what I'm saying, of certain
Mhm.
crimes, sexual crimes. They would be unattractive. And they kind of like, what I'm saying, kind of leaned into that whole grunge look. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you guys think I'm unattractive. Well, I'm gonna make myself really unattractive. You know what I'm saying? Um, but what did y'all think about the example of, okay, yeah, it's cool, y'all can wear what y'all want to wear, but then if we do that, then a whole bunch of people start coming to school and in long ass trench coats, you know what I'm saying, and MAGA hats. Does,
I
does it
prefer
become
we
a
have
double standard then?
no. I so I don't believe in telling kids absolutely why they can't wear something. I think having the discussion why it's not a good idea
Hmm.
is best, and then empower them to make that choice. But I think too often we tell, especially teenagers, that they can't do something and don't say why, the why behind it. It's more like, well, it's just because we've ordered this, or we've decided this for your own safety or for your good. Explain to them why, or have the conversation with them why, or hear from them why it is so important that maybe that's the hill they want to die on, that they want to have
So
the
so
sacrifice.
so so if
Hear
they
from
want to
them.
wear the MAGA hat and then they get stole off on campus, then it's just like, well, I said something.
Except the it's discuss the consequences
And then it's
to
just
them.
like if it happens, then I said something. You got stolen, you
No,
got beat up.
that's true. I
Because
think
you know
also
it.
And you know that
not
people
all
gonna be like
schools provide
you are
clothes.
violating their freedom of speech
Right.
whenever
Mhm.
you come in, even with a political or something that is
Yeah. Because
racially triggering.
I live
Mhm.
this, almost daily. You know what I'm saying? So I know y'all might think this is extreme. So we say wear
Mhm.
anything. What about someone shows up to school with a swastika? We just educate them on the swastika, and then if you get stole off on and beat up on campus, then hey, I tried to tell you.
No, in our schools, I'm sure your school has that too, where there's
No hate
clothes.
symbols. Yeah.
There's clothes available at school in the event they come to school in something
Yeah.
that I think we should make sure that the clothes that's available at school is not just stuff that's thrown out, or obviously looks like everyone will be able to identify that they got the backup clothes in the office,
No, I'm
to
talking about the
make sure
swastika.
what they've drawn a swastika on themselves,
Yeah,
or
I'm just saying, or they wearing a swastika, symbol on their hat or a Confederate flag. I mean, if we're saying no dress code, we're saying no uniforms, we're against it, then we have to we opening up a can of worms for people to start coming to school with a whole bunch of symbols that could be a safety issue.
in that event, I would give them how do you say that in English? Um, we call it a four cover. I would They would still be able to wear that clothing, but they're going to have class all day in one room by themselves, so that it doesn't impact the learning environment for everyone else.
So if that's the same
Mhm.
logic, then wouldn't we, if we were talking about young men who can't control their hormones, or even some young women who can't control their hormones when they see skin on another person, we're not supposed to punish the person who's wearing the clothes. We're supposed to respond to the person who's actually that's making the inappropriate comments. So putting a group of kids in a room who are wearing MAGA hats or Confederate flags or swastika kind of goes against that logic.
But they're doing something that's making it an unsafe learning environment for others on an ideological level. So it's
Okay.
not a safe environment for learning.
Even the
Um,
MAGA.
oh, well, the MAGA hat might be. I haven't
But
had
I'm
the
just
MAGA
saying
hat. I've
someone.
had
No,
swastikas
I'm saying
before.
when we're in a community, and a lot of
Mhm.
times uniforms and uniformity is done so it won't distract from like the
Mhm.
educational process or um the focused design or plan for the group. So if a young person says, "Hey man, I'm really hearing what you're saying. I know I need to keep my eyes off her cleavage. I need to keep my eyes off her booty. I need to stop, looking at certain parts of her body, but it's really hard for me to stay focused because, I just been conditioned a certain way." You know what I'm saying? It's like the same things that someone can say about a MAGA hat. I know I'm not supposed to steal off on this dude and beat this dude up, but as soon as I see that MAGA, I just want to really hurt this man
Mhm.
or hurt this person.
Mhm.
And it's like, so the person who wears the MAGA hat or the person who's wearing the short skirts with the bottom of, their cheeks showing, male or female, or the guy, who's wearing the tank top, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
They have to go to a room because other person can't control their emotions. It's like it's really easier said than done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Someone said just send them home.
I mean, that's what they did. Whenever, I mean,
Yeah.
Just
I
send them
like,
home.
but that's what
Problem
they did.
solved.
That's what I meant by put them in a room and give them their books and they can just study
I
by
mean,
themselves all day.
that's what they did. Whenever they came to school, especially when in high school, if you came in there
Mhm.
dressing anybody, oh yeah, they send your ass home. They take you into the room with the assistant principal. They call your parents up, say, hey, come get your child because they're wearing something inappropriate that violates the dress code. Sometimes they'll let them fly the first time, depending on what it is. But if they're like a repeat offender, oh yeah, they sent them home.
So do y'all think, okay, so Carmelita White says the difference, sagging pants is a form of protest from feeling powerless. Swastikas
Mhm.
equals of hate, racism, and oppression. Um,
Right.
yeah, I mean,
That is true.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but and, you also get the kids in your office, they're gonna say actually a swastika is not that. It's actually an ancient Hindu symbol. So, anyways,
Oh yeah. That.
which is also true, you know what I'm
Then
saying?
you
But
ask them to present on that to
exactly. Exactly.
professional development for all of the teachers at the school,
Exactly.
and let me see your curriculum plan for
Yeah.
that, and then we can do that.
But if we're talking about people should be able to wear what they want to wear in a school community, and we're going to get to like the actual community that we can actually you know what I'm saying, have some autonomy over and manage, which is totally different than institutions that
Mhm.
we don't control or manage. How far does that go? Seriously. So what if we get a whole bunch of dudes, you know how dudes are,
Mhm.
and or just people who really just like I just want to, you know what, for this example, I just want to isolate dudes just to make a point. And they
Okay.
start working
Okay.
out, and then they start wearing their tank tops, they start getting hats, and they start getting these big muscles, and they start walking around greasing their muscles. You know how dudes do. At some point, we get, people get googly eyes, you know what I'm saying? And start flirting with these guys because they're showing off their bodies, showing off their quads, they're showing off their muscles. Like, how is that different than a woman showing off her cleavage or showing off, what I'm saying, if she has a really nice, full figure and she knows that, they can get attention. What's the difference from a guy doing the same thing with his muscles or his body or his abs? I've seen dudes trying to walk around the school with, like their sweatshirts and their shirts cut off so they could show off their nice little six packs. But then that gets, ladies' attention. And, you know, if you don't think guys know how to control their emotions, young ladies don't know how to control their emotions and hormones either. It's all a big, zoo of hormones in school.
Yeah,
I'm there.
I
No,
have.
no,
I'm
I'm
going
Oh
to
my
have to
God, can I
agree.
touch your washboard? Oh my God. You ain't, you can't
Yeah,
be
you are
too hot
correct.
because you got a six
oh
pack, you know?
no.
My PE health teacher, Mr. Cersei, he was my brother teacher. Me and my brother all went to the same high school. But yeah, he used to wear the tight white tees to the classroom or whatever, and there would be girls checking him out. Me personally, I didn't give a damn because I worry about doing my work, getting up out of there. But yeah, and then he used to wear it all the time. But the one damn all the stuff we started wearing him, seeing him in polo shirts and stuff, and someone a girl said, "Why you stop wearing a white tee, Mr. Cersei?"
Exactly.
And then he did tell us the truth because the principal told him what he was wearing was inappropriate
Mm-hmm.
for the school grounds.
Mhm.
So he had to
Mm-hmm.
wear a polo shirt. Now, if he wants to wear it when he's in the gym with the boys, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
But when
Mm-hmm.
he's in the
Mm-hmm.
mid class with other students, when he's teaching class, he has to wear a collar shirt or a polo shirt, whatever.
Mhm.
So yeah,
I know
men,
I know
men.
this ain't the right answer. I know this is not the right answer. And I know this is not a cookie cutter, no pun intended, uniform answer for everybody. But sometimes you have to account for people who just can't handle it. I'm not saying that should be the rule. But I think that sometimes I know I'm gonna leave myself as an example. I know I just don't do certain things because I know it's gonna distract. Like something
Mm-hmm.
simple as me wearing a shirt, a certain shirt. Um, I won't wear it to school, and if I wear it to school, I will button it all the way up because I don't want to show my dead ends. I don't want my taco meat. Because I know somebody's gonna start making some kind of comment. Oh my goodness, you showing off your chest hairs. Oh my goodness. Or I don't wear like tight clothing to show off like certain like muscles and show off my physique or something like that because I know it's going to be a distraction. Now that's for me. I'm not saying that's 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 the way it should be for everybody. You know, it shouldn't be that uniform approach to everybody, but I definitely compensate, and sometimes overcompensate for people I know who just can't handle that visual. I do it, and I see sisters do it too. I see sisters that cover up their, their backsides with long shirts, or they wrap a sweater around their waist and stuff like that. And you have conversations with them, you know what I'm saying, in a safe place, and they'll tell you the reason why they do it because they don't want that unnecessary, unwanted attention from certain people. Um, Denise says six packs are not private parts, though. Well, I can technically say neither are breasts on men or women. They're not.
Yeah.
I mean, a woman should be able to breastfeed in public. That could be another whole different conversation. But really,
Yeah.
breasts aren't really meant to be like sexual objects. like,
A
like
woman then
that's
should be able to go topless because
you know
men
what
can go topless, no problem.
exactly. Yeah, I have no,
So,
I have no problem with. You know what? To be honest with you, I have no problem with that argument. From a scholarly academic standpoint, that's a legitimate argument. That's a legitimate argument. We have sexualized breasts.
mhm.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But I know damn well when I was a baby, I was there was nothing sexual about me breastfeeding with my mom. Okay, so
Yes.
there's a time and place for everything when we sexualize things, and we just sometimes we just got to calm down. You know what I'm saying?
That remind me, y'all remember that picture that went viral a few, speaking of dress codes in school? Y'all, I'm not sure you remember. They had a picture of this black woman. She was in, I think it was elementary school, and she had one of them bodycon pink dress she had on. And everyone was asking, was she dressing appropriate?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like,
I even had someone said, well, I know she can't control, what she wears and whatnot, because no matter what she put on, her body's gonna be popping, but she shouldn't have been taking those pictures at school. What? What? She can't take a picture at school now?
yeah,
Like,
what if it's picture day?
but
Yeah.
but what they were saying is she was purposely, intentionally taking pictures inside of her classroom because she knew that it was attracting attention. It's like almost like trolling her people. And I'm like, so, so what? She can't take a picture in her classroom? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't think it's a teacher's problem if they're sexy. If they're just sexy, they're just sexy. That's your problem.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And
And I've always heard that.
Carmelita said, to be fair, Logic, you have a semblance of
The
privilege.
What
privilege.
that means?
Semblance means what does that mean?
Um,
The
Probably
aesthetic
because you're
aesthetic
describing this from a
privilege?
male perspective.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, there is some, you know what I'm saying? But I used to get hit all the time with the sagging pants. There's heck of times I get hit with quote unquote dress code violations. And I think black men and black women, I've been through this so many times, unique experiences, but there's always the powers that be always trying to control our bodies. And you know what I'm saying? And I'm definitely here to recognize my privilege, but I'm also here to talk about how, I feel like my body's under siege at a lot too. It's just in a different way. What do y'all think about what Al C said? Al C says, now I don't know if there's any you know, imperial, evidence or data to support this, but it might be an urban myth that people act differently based on what they have on. That's why they have dress codes at clubs.
There's a level of truth to that. I will say that because I've always said if you look good, you feel good. And when you
Mhm.
feel good, that boosts your confidence. So yeah, it may portray you or may bring out a certain side that you probably would not have came out if you wore something else. Like when a man put on a suit, most of the time a man is on his A game when he got a suit on. Not all the time. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but usually it gives them some sort of empowering, especially if he's in a role of a position of authority. So yeah, there's still level of truth to that. But do I think it's across the board? There's always
Mm.
going to be those
It'd be
people who,
interesting to look at some data of nightclubs that have dress codes compared to nightclubs that don't have dress codes and the incidents of violence that happens there are just people cutting up. I'm kind of leaning towards it's probably a photo finish and it's too close because probably the common denominator is probably going to be alcohol.
that's what I'm thinking. It's probably more like the alcohol because it ain't the clothes that make people act up and want to fight. It's really
Exactly.
someone underneath the influence of alcohol or sometimes
Right.
drugs.
Right. Because I know as a dude going to a club, and one of the arguments for a dress code for clubs and a uniform is they want you to have them you know what I'm saying, they want you to wear dress shoes because when you start wearing those certain bottoms, you know, those Stacy Adam bottoms, it's hard to get your grip and it's hard to fight in them as opposed to a tennis shoe. But you know, you can wear some Kohans nowadays that have a rubber grip on them. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that definitely don't work with the sisters wearing heels because they'll take those bad boys off if they really want to get busy. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
throw those things. You know what I'm
and
saying?
that's not
Especially when alcohol's involved. You know what I'm
like
saying?
folks
They're
when
gonna
like
take
folks
them
when
heels off. There's gonna be all kinds of dress code violations. Dudes gonna be taking off their rayon shirts. They're gonna be pulling up their pants and tightening up their belts. You know what I mean? As soon as they start grabbing on their pants, you know, oh yeah, he's serious. He's
I
really
find
about
it
to
funny
go to
that they
head.
say that about men's shoes. Like people were getting fucked up in clubs in the 50s and 60s wearing them same type of shoes.
Yeah,
I know my dad can. He can bob and weave in some little Stacy
Yeah,
Adams church
yeah.
dress
I
suit.
So as
agree.
Carmelita said, as a black man, you deal with oppression too. However, when it comes to
Mm,
clothing, black women have unique issues in this area. Yeah,
right.
I think we all have unique issues. I don't think a lot of black women get nailed for sagging their pants either, like we do. They actually have
Well,
laws on the books in some states that
we get nailed
actually
for
profile
like you're.
you. Yeah, I mean we can have the hurt tournament. Black women are going to win, but is that what we're trying to do? We're trying to win. I don't know. They have laws on the books that target and profile black men for sagging pants. I know that was a law at one point I think in Louisiana, and that was disproportionately targeting black men
Yeah, I
and
do remember that.
bandanas. That's
And
disproportionately targets black men, depending on what color bandana you're wearing, where you hanging it at on your left or your right side on your pants pocket. You know, if you're wearing a hood or not, Trayvon. So, um, we're both targeted. I get
I
it.
don't think we've discussed the ways in which women are targeted, though. So that's
Yeah, we
um,
have. We talked about it.
we
We talked
have.
about
We talked about with
we
shoes.
talked
So even the example of shoes, high heel shoes. There are clubs that will not let women, particularly black women, in with stilettos. So and everyone else can wear stilettos. Even in terms of the uniforms, like I said, black women and when I won't say women, girls are sexualized with in regards even to school uniforms. I don't remember ever seeing, even if you think of like a music video in which a man sexual or a boy sexualizes being in a uniform versus with women. I know
Mhm.
Rihanna has one where she's in a school uniform, clearly. That's sexualized. Britney Spears school
Mhm.
uniform. So we're sexualized regardless if your body has an adult body shape in a school uniform or a child body shape in a school uniform. So there are different risks in terms of dress codes, uniforms, and things that we face that regardless, we're going to be sexualized because of it, as well as even the examples in Louisiana with, okay, men couldn't wear bandanas, but know that they were also policing our hair in Louisiana, period, that it had to be covered at all times, not just talking about going into a club and things. So we're both monitored by dress codes. And then also we're probably all of an age that we know reality in terms of like gang culture. Certain colors were even, of course, banned. Back when I was a kid in LA, you couldn't wear blue or red, and yet those were the two most popular colors for school uniforms. And so if you toddled into the wrong place from school, you could still get in some kind of trouble. So that's everyone. But
Yeah,
with us, yeah, we're dealing with the misogyny and racism, and men are also dealing with racism based
yeah. I
on.
think if we had the trauma, I think we had the trauma tournament. Black women are definitely going to win, but it doesn't make it hurt any less
Mm,
when it happens to black men. I
right.
know that black men don't. Me speaking as a black man of 46 years old, it don't matter what I got on. I've been sexualized. That's
Mm-hmm.
why it's so normalized for black men to be statutorily raped.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's acceptable, for people to say stuff like, oh, he was 15 years old and she was 30, but he liked it. No matter what I had on, I've been a grown man ever since there wasn't a man in the house. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
black men are sexualized. Black men, what's the
Mm-hmm.
term? There's a term where you oppress a group of people by you not allowing them to be children, and you kind of I know this is not the word, but you kind of adultify them.
Objectified.
Yeah, you adultify them. Like I know
Mm-hmm.
that's been happening whether I was wearing a school uniform or not. That's where the whole term little man comes from. If we really look at the way we look at young black men and women, period, our bodies are both under attack. We're treated like adults. We have a very, very small window when we're able to be children and treated as such. So when something does actually happen to us, it's like, oh, that didn't happen to a child. That happened to an adult. So, and that goes on. I mean, like they justify treating black men like based on a profile, like grown ass men, and giving them, you know what I'm saying, adult sentences when it's time, you know what I'm saying, to prosecute them. You know, they can get, the sagging of the pants, the wearing of certain hats, the wearing of bandanas, the wearing of certain colors, all wrapped up in and shares an intersection with treating us like adults, giving us harsher sentences when we're actually picked up according to that profile. So um yeah, and so that's when it comes down to our community. Like, what do? Is that something, like, so we step outside of their institutionalization, and we institutionalizing, their trauma and their oppression. We step outside of that and we start our own community and start our own commute and start our own um institutions. Is is uniforms and a certain dress code something that we would want to adopt to build and grow community?
Repeat that last question. I'm sorry, you kind of
So
break
say we
down.
say so say we step so if we step outside of the institutions that, what I'm saying, perpetuate these oppressions with dress codes. We've been talking about us going to their schools and whatnot. Well, I will say this though. We do have a problem with dress codes until until we needed to, do what we
To
really
work.
want to do.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
Let's be clear. If we want to get into that club and be around other people, then we start to say, oh, what is the dress code? Okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna keep. I've even gone to the point where I keep an extra pair of clothes in my car, in my trunk, in case I need to switch out of my Timberlands and put some slides on or whatever that fits the dress code. I will say that, or if we want to play a sport, then all of a sudden, oh yeah, what I'm saying, we want to join some kind of team. All of a sudden, dress codes, you know, we're willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I wanted to say is once we step outside of those institutions that want to control our bodies and we have some sense of autonomy and we start creating our own institutions, what do you think about a uniform or a dress code
So
to
basically,
build community?
the black community having their own uniform or their
Yeah, because
own dress code when they're not at school or at work or
right.
whatever.
You gave the good example of the Black Panthers.
Yes.
Is that something y'all either what you one of y'all would do if they say, "Hey, man, look, what we want to do, we want to have some kind of uniformity. We want y'all to have your black berets on and your leather jacket. We even provide the clothing for you." Would you rock it?
No,
Of
no.
course, I wear that stuff anyway, but I wear that anyway, so it's not a big fetch. But also, the thing about the Black Panthers, they had a mission goal. So that person, whoever group is approaching that person goals or their mindset must align with them in order to conform themselves to that uniform that they trying to present to them. So like if that's not their thing to do, then them joining that particular group probably would not. Well, I didn't have a fro common leader, but I did. I do wear all black often sometimes. But yeah, it's slimming. But yes, it could be a good thing if they're with a group that they feel comfortable with, like with churches. Some people go to church after school and they do have a particular attire or uniform that they do wear. So yeah, it could work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Trisha, you said no. She said
I
no.
said no.
But
It's
it shouldn't be
only
forced,
for
but
Black Panther gear. I
Oh, you
would
said the
not.
Black Panther gear. Gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
I
And
would
specific, you don't
wear.
like that gear.
No, not because that's not my ethnic identity. I would rather find out about my African ethnic identity and wear clothes specifically that my ancestors wore and redefine what professionalism looks in the workplace. I'm tired of dressing like a European trained monkey. I'm at a point in my career that I don't need to do that. When I'm at work, I'm wearing clothes from my ethnic identities even
Gotcha.
on the screen, so they could ask and they'll, oh, what is it? What are you wearing? Well, this is, from Equatorial Guinea because my ancestors are from, and that's usually a conversation they don't want to have. And I dare anyone to tell me that I'm not dressed professionally in your club. When I was younger, I
Yeah.
had to do the European monkey thing. I don't do it anymore. So that's the only reason I wouldn't
Hey,
specifically
hey,
dress like a Black
hey,
Panther.
Trisha,
But
Trisha, Trisha, didn't you say you was in Facebook jail?
yes, I'm in Facebook jail.
Talking about
You
some
know what?
monkeys. That's why.
I'm
See,
sticking
you
away
ain't
logic
learned your
thinking.
lesson, girl.
I'm sticking away logic thinking
It's only
among
3
his
days.
own people. I
Hmm?
get what Trisha's saying, but I thought what Elijah was going there with people like, among other
Yeah.
black people having those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they want to, I don't think it's mandatory or should be forced, but
Mhm.
if they want
Right.
to have their own thing, that's great. Just like what Carmelita said about
Mhm.
older women do have church hats, and that is very true. They do come in, fly in them Easter color, nice bejeweled hats. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. So yeah, the train monkey,
Oh,
yeah, I
yeah.
get it. When you off the clock, you don't want to feel like dressing, but I like pantsuits person. I've always worn even when
Yeah.
off the clock. I just love them. I just love them.
Right.
And I wear to work too.
Yeah, because I was gonna mention that, I was
Mhm.
gonna mention what Trisha said. She beat me to it because I was like,
Uh-uh.
the African gear, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And if we take it back even pre-colonial, especially pre-colonial, there was different tribes that had different prints.
Yeah.
If you're from West Africa, like from Ghana or Benin, I think it's the kente cloth. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But then if you go to other parts, you know what I'm saying, like East Africa, there might be a different, design and whatnot. And I know like Ghana has the Ndinkra symbols, which most of my tattoos, I think the majority of my tattoos are Ndinkra symbols.
Mhm.
And I do the same thing, Trish. I do the same thing when I go to work. I do that on purpose. I dress in a lot of traditional dashikis with blazers.
Mhm.
I actually like mixing European and African styles, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and swagging out like that. And I do it on
Mhm.
purpose because I want to generate a conversation. I want ignorant black people to be like, ugh, what do you have on? And be like, you know what I'm saying? And because I want to be professional according to my cultural, you know what I'm saying, foundation. I want to build that autonomy. When I walk down, I want to just
Right.
look like everybody. I want to look nice, according to who I am as a black person with African
Mhm.
ancestry. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely feel that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely it's a form of
That's what,
protest, you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
we always it feels like we always have to protest to gain some kind of empowerment and regain some kind of ownership of our bodies. It's
Mhm.
really gross. It really is gross. But then there are moments when you're really proud when you're doing it. But it's very exhausting. It's very
Yeah.
exhausting because sometimes I just want to go. Um, I just want to go to work, man, and not have to
Mhm.
worry about what image and what point I'm making.
Mhm.
Because I will be sitting here and be totally dishonest if I said I wasn't making a point when I wear a dashiki to school. Though that's definitely deliberate. It's
Yeah.
definitely intentional. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because I want white folks to be like, oh, he's proud of who he is. Yeah, I am. That's why my name is Logic 7 Allah Amen. Because I'm not
Mhm.
running from this. I'm very proud of who I am. And y'all can control this body all y'all want, but I'm gonna show you ways that I am that I'm liberated.
Mhm.
And you know that this is a whole different conversation I really want to get into on a different time. We
Mhm.
really got to talk about this dress thing. Men wearing dresses, because I think that gets really met. Why is it okay for the Muslim brothers and sisters? I mean, for the Muslim brothers during Ramadan to wear dresses, but then I know the reason, but we need to unpack it. But then when a brother like was like Russell Westbrook wears a kilt, you know, everyone's like, oh my God, he's gay. See, and we're emasculating, you know, the black man. But it wasn't emasculating the black man when the Muslim brother did it. It wasn't emasculating a brown man or original people, indigenous people, when the Samoans wear sarongs. Those are dresses.
Mhm.
Or when you look at hieroglyphics and you look at the men in hieroglyphics, they ain't got no shirts on, but they got dresses
Yeah,
Mhm.
or
like a little
skirts.
long skirt. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think
So
the
it's like,
problem is that he wore a kilt though versus wearing, I mean, I my teacher in Kano in Nigeria, they're wearing the equivalent of dresses I see. So should Russell Westbrook have worn something
right,
um, like that versus a kilt? Why did he choose a kilt first?
right. But you know, when you look it up, they call the that kind of dress, even in Africa, they call it a kilt. So I wonder if that word is borrowed from, you know, the way men dressed in general in Africa. Because they say that the original, you know, inhabitants of Ireland, you know, that wore kilts were actually, you know, original people, were black people.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's true.
Lawrence Williams said Logic, he also had on a blouse.
Blouse
I
shirt.
wonder what everybody thought. I wonder what everybody thought when Dennis Rodman had a wedding dress on back in the early '90s. Did
Yeah.
anybody
Exactly.
remember that?
Yeah.
But people thought that was really artistic. They I think they gave
Mhm.
him a pass because he was marrying himself.
Uh,
Hey, but why they give people like Prince? So how come Prince get a pass? I mean, he had full out butt out jeans.
I don't think he
Because
wore a dress.
Prince has said the reason why he wears it because women loves it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That's why he wears it.
I'm sure a whole bunch of men loved it too.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he did. And of course, they did question Prince's
Mhm.
sexuality. And he said, I forgot which
Yeah,
song it was. I forgot what song. I probably got to find a song. But a woman did ask him about his sexuality. He asked, are you gay? He like, no.
she
Are
said
you?
Prince is
That's
sexy like fuck.
controversy.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Controversy.
Yeah, controversy. That's
They
what
asked, "Are
I
you
told you.
black or white?" I know all the lyrics.
Lawrence Lawrence
No.
Lawrence Williams said he never gave Prince a pass either. I
Man,
think
Prince
you
is
know
Oh.
bomb.
one of the really. I'm really looking forward to having this episode because we
Mhm.
really need to break down androgyny. You know, to
Yeah.
that's totally different than cross
Yeah.
dressing. Totally different. And
Mhm.
androgyny goes all the way back to African spiritual systems. You know,
Mhm.
like when you talk about like the Ifa or Yoruba, you know, Obatala, you know what I'm saying? When you talk about
Mhm.
that god or that Orisha, I should say, had no gender.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And even in all the Orishas, when they come down, they are not confined to the physical shells that they come in form. So Oshun, yes, comes in the form of a black woman in yellow, you know what I'm saying? But that she's not confined to being a woman.
Mhm.
None of the Orishas are
Yeah.
confined to the physical beings that they come to Earth on.
Like
Yeah,
Grace Jones.
right. Hmm. Yeah.
She had a nice little doggedness look.
Oh yeah. He
Yeah,
did.
she did. I thought Grace Jones was sexy.
I thought she was gorgeous. I thought, man,
I
she.
thought she
I
was
said,
sexy.
whoa, she. I remember seeing. I said, man, she's tall, but man, she's gorgeous at the
I
same
was
time.
mad
Mhm.
when Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was playing Conan threw her in the fire. Yeah, like
Oh,
they was getting busy, and she turned into some kind of witch or some kind of demon. Of course, always trying to
yeah.
demonize, dark skinned, women. But and he threw her in the fire. She burned. But
Yeah.
anyways, we got distracted. But it does fit into uniform because I think
Mhm.
that a lot of people think there's supposed to be a dress code for a masculine black man. There's a dress code for a feminine black woman, and I think it's all rooted in, of course, patriarchy, but it's also all rooted in European value systems.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? These are the same people who used to run around with powder faces and wigs. And in some countries,
Mhm.
you still got African people dressing up like that when they're holding court.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder, like when we are start to assigning dress codes and what a person should wear, are we really asking ourselves what that looks like? Autonomous, you know what I'm saying, from white people? Are we using just the imitators? Are we imitating the imitators? And a lot of times we're imitating the imitators. Like we can't even think for ourselves. We let white people tell us what's masculinity, what's femininity, what's man, what's woman, what you should wear on your head, it's just what you should wear on your body. It's just ridiculous. And we really need to get to the point where we're getting away from that so we can just stop and think and breathe. Like at some point, we got to be like, I just need some space to be in a safe space, and I don't have to worry about what white people think and what people who have been influenced by white people think about what I should wear. And the
Right.
only place you can really do that is in your home, first and foremost.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they wonder why people, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are really men, and I'll speak for myself, who don't even feel comfortable being themselves wearing certain things in their home because, they feel like they're under surveillance. And it's sad. Like, in the mirror, naked you should feel safe. But I know there's a lot of men who, when they're alone by themselves, you know what I'm saying, no one around, they're still under surveillance because they got those European value systems in their head saying, don't do that. Don't do that. I had a friend back in the day. He said, man, I'm not trying to be gay or anything, but I like taking a bath. I like bubble
I've
baths.
heard that.
I like bubble baths.
Really?
Take a
I've
bubble
heard of
bath
that.
is gay?
There was a post on that. A guy's, I
Taking
mean, he's like,
bubble
I'm
baths
like,
is gay?
great.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. It's like nowhere, no matter where we go, we're under surveillance. But
Wow.
anyways, so after what we talked about today about dress codes
Mhm.
and whatnot. Hey, everybody, share this video. Please share this video. Like it, whatnot, and let everyone know we on here at least once a week. We usually try to get on here on Wednesday. Shout out to Trish. Shout out to Precious. Shout out to Tank Top Bob. Shout
Yeah.
out to everybody who's been on C
Yeah.
Talk
On the
before we
tank top.
closing out. What's the plan of action based on what we talked about today? What's the plan of action?
I would say dress codes is a necessity to keep certain environments safe. I've always said that. I never truly was against it, but I think with dress code we have to make sure whatever we mark down as part of the dress code, we need to explain the reason why we're doing that. Granted, people can have their right to agree to disagree, but I think many times it's put down and people say, "Well, we just don't want you wearing that," instead of giving a legitimate reason why wearing this particular attire could be is a violation.
Mhm.
So that is one. In terms of uniform, I think uniform can be great for unity, especially off the clock. It don't necessarily have to be at school or work or whatever, but off the clock it could be a good thing. I just um I just think with dress code we have to be careful not to force any mentalities that got to come with that. Like if you dress in a
Mm,
certain way, you gotta think like this or you gotta behave like this. No, 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 no. Tire is just was just to dress your body like a canvas. That is it. So that's the only thing about dress code that I think could be problematic. But other than that, I do find dress codes required for the most part.
I like that. Dress your body like a canvas.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I like that. I like that. That's tight. What you
Choose your
think, Trish?
pleasure. Um, I think dress codes should be seen as an opportunity for development, a professional development opportunity for in schools for children as well as for the adults. So I think they should also be involved in the development of the dress code, which means that they then have the opportunity to learn the why behind certain choices and then support them in making better choices to create a safe environment. Um, as I also think that, so that's for dress code. So I prefer dress codes to uniforms because those are two separate conversations because I think uniform it takes away choice and is really preparing you. Where are the other places that you have uniforms? Well, prison, you have uniforms. So I don't think
Yeah,
that in school, uniforms are the best idea. Dress codes are great because you're using it as an opportunity to develop. I also think that in schools, while monitoring the kids and their development, also the adults should realize that they are role models and use their opportunity as role models to show what it's like to be a professional and not only embrace European manners of dress and definition. And yeah, those are my two plans of action. Have the also definitely have the kids involved. Just like I even believe in the workplace, the adults should be involved if you're going to have dress codes there. Not just one person dictating what it should be.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. Like, I was thinking that I say sometimes parents should and kids should be involved when it comes to dress code, especially
Mhm.
here in Texas. That
Yeah.
children are not allowed to walk the stage because they have dreadlocks on because you think it's a certain way. But we in 2021, many people have laws and many workplaces allow it. So for them to have this sort of stance on it is ridiculous. So yes, I think honestly, I think dress code should be looked at every year. Every year they
Mhm.
should look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To add on to what y'all said, I agree with what y'all said. I like the distinction you made, Trisha, with the distinction between dress codes and uniform because there is a
Mhm.
difference. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because dress codes actually allow someone to have be unique and
Mhm.
include their personality and their background and their personal story.
Mhm.
I think that we should create safe places that everyone feels comfortable with what they're wearing. And if what and so we provide that safe place for them to feel comfortable. So just in case if someone has a problem with what someone has on, then they feel safe enough not only to wear it, but also talk about how it's impacting someone else. And so like I think about that a lot, like I could be wearing images on my t-shirt, on my body or whatever, and it could offend somebody. You know what I'm saying? Or it could be very triggering. And I'm not the type of person that's going to disrupt safe places and be like, well, I just get to wear wherever I want.
Mhm.
This is what I want to wear. You know what I'm saying? I like to be a responsible community member where if I feel like anything's going to trigger someone else, you know, then, um, then I'm not going to wear it or I'm going to be educated, on how I should wear it. And that's why I be like, when someone gives me something like a necklace or something with a symbol on it, I'd be like, hold on, man, what does this mean?
Mhm.
Because I could be wearing this around somebody. You know what I mean? Like, let me give you an example. Like, I used to wear this shirt of Holly Selassie. I used to really like the shirt. I thought the shirt was dope, and then a brother from Ethiopia is like, oh, you like him? He's a dictator.
Mhm.
He wouldn't even let us read, books from the United States. He's very oppressive. Now I could be like, well, Holly Selassie, that's the man, you know what I'm saying? He's like the foundation of Rastafarianism, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's, who Bob Marley looked up to. He was a very
Mhm.
important man for us. He was a symbol of freedom and liberation for black people. Nah, it's just like I just sat and listened. And he has
Mhm.
a point because that's his story. He's like, yeah, they were actually throwing people in prison in Ethiopia if you read the autobiography of Malcolm X. because it taught people to be revolutionary and go against dictatorship. I was like, word? He's like, yeah, that guy's not cool. I said,
Mhm.
oh, okay. I didn't argue with him, say he was a sellout or he was a part of the bourgeoisie, or I just like, that was a learning moment for me. And I was very young. I
Mhm.
was probably in my late 20s, you know? And I was like, damn. And I actually was very thankful and grateful for that teaching moment. And I feel the same way when I'm walking around with a Gucci or, or Castro, even though most of those people who really adore him are Afro Cubans. You know what I'm saying? But I still don't even I don't want to, piss off white Cubans or people who don't like them, who got exiled and pushed
Mhm.
out because they were trying to take over and exploit the poor, because they have a story too. You know what I'm saying? And so keeping that in mind, in institutions, I think that we should, like Trisha said, I think we should educate people on what they have on and how it impacts and could trigger other people. But I think there should be designated days. If you want students to dress a certain way, then designate those days throughout the year and say, oh, this is dress for success. And people are like, well,
Mhm.
what does success mean? Well, that could be very subjective. Yeah, you're right. But we're saying dress for your success after high school and what you want to get a job in.
Okay.
Dress that way on
Mhm.
that day. We're going to have these days. Oh,
Right.
so I want to go, I want to be this, I want to be that. Okay, well, then dress that way. Dress like you're going into an interview at that job,
Mhm.
because that's our responsibility as educators to prepare you for a competitive world that's not always going to be fair. We got
Right.
to teach you how to dress code, but also, quote, code switch.
Mhm.
So, I just think that it all starts about like teaching people just manners, man. Like, stop making fun of
Mhm.
people because they don't look the way you want them to look in clothes that they're wearing. Stop making fun of people's body parts. There's a time and place for that. That's not a safe place when someone's walking in a work or academic environment. That's not a
Mhm.
safe place. Maybe at a comedy club or on a sitcom, that's a safe place to make fun of, because we know that's why we're there. But not when someone's walking down the hallway of an academic or a professional institution trying to do their job. That's not the place to be making fun of them. So we got to teach young people and people in general. A lot of adult people don't know how to they don't know how. Man, you know what I mean? Adults being academic and professional, they should be wearing that. Why? Why? Why do you think that's appropriate to say that in this space?
Mhm. Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't know what's going on in that They might not be able to afford it.
Mhm.
They might have some kind of issue where
Mhm.
they can't fit into clothes. They might be in and out
Mhm.
of weight gain or weight loss, that their clothes
Mhm.
don't fit them the same. Like, it's just not cool. But
Right.
anyways, C Talk. We miss you, Bob. We miss you, Carmelita. We miss you, Doug Wren. Anybody and everybody who's ever been on C Talk, we miss y'all. If you want to be on C Talk, please hit me up, inbox any one of us if you want to be on the show. Did you want to say something, Trish?
No, no. I was just
Okay.
saying I wore this tank top for Bobby, so
Oh,
he wouldn't be alone.
hey, we need to put a dress code on Bobby. No more tank tops.
Yeah, yeah, you're showing off the gun. You distract
No, we
Show
should
it off
all
to her
wear tank
skin.
tops.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a good week. I'll see y'all later. Love y'all. Peace.
Good night,
Bye.
y'all.
Good night.